In Hollywood, it's always someone else's fault when something flops or otherwise doesn't work out, and the lengths that some are willing to go to shift blame onto everyone and everything else other than oneself can be quite the sight to behold. Case in point, director Paul Feig just doubled down on that Donald Trump is to blame for the failure of his 2016 female-centric Ghostbusters remake. Let's dive in. Before we get around to how ludicrous an excuse this is, let's first look at the narrative that Paul Feig is trying to put out there, now 8 years later. Deadline Hollywood reads, Paul Feig never intended to make "who you gonna call" such a politically charged question. The Emmy-nominated writer and director explained that he made his 2016 female-led Ghostbusters reboot as it would have felt weird to continue with only part of the original cast after star Bill Murray publicly shut down the idea of a sequel. And yet, he's been in 2 sequels since then. Go figure. It had been 30 years, and Bill and the gang were so iconic. I didn't want to do anything that hurt the original movies, Feig told The Guardian, which is the source for this. But as both myself and so many others have been saying for years now, the act of rebooting the franchise, and thus removing the original from continuity, hurt it more than anything else he could possibly do. The fans were there, but for a continuation, not a remake. Even if it had been an all-male remake, it wouldn't have helped. It would still have gone the way of most other would-be franchise starter remakes, which is down the drain. There was never demand for anything other than a continuation of the original. And to make matters even worse, he didn't even do a serious remake, but yet another one of his female-centric parodies. Only he expected the audience to accept that female-centric parody as the only canon Ghostbusters. The article continues. The reboot stars Kristen Wiig as physicist Erin Gilbert and Melissa McCarthy as paranormal researcher Abby Yates, who reunite years after trying to prove that ghosts exist in modern society. When strange apparitions pop up in Manhattan, they turn to engineer Gillian Holtzman, Kate McKinnon, and lifelong New Yorker, Patty Tolan, Leslie Jones, for help. The political climate of that time was really weird, with Hillary Clinton running for office in 2016, explained Feig. I'm curious, Mr. Feig, did the climate become weird, as you call it, all on its own? Or did something perhaps push things in that direction? Could it be that your nation ultimately elected Trump was a sign that the populace wasn't entirely happy with how things had gone in the years prior? Could it be that the media, including the entertainment media complex, here represented by the corporately owned Deadline Hollywood, had something to do with that? Could it be that moviegoers were being gaslit and seeing unwanted messaging increasingly being infused into entertainment, something that only accelerated since had something to do with that weirdness? In fact, Ghostbusters 2016 was a prime example of just that. I just love it when people who share their part of the blame in things getting weird complain about things being weird, as if that's something that just spontaneously happened on its own. Moving on with the article, there were a lot of dudes looking for a fight. When I was getting piled on Twitter, I'd go back and see who they were. So many were Trump supporters. Actually, the cast of the movie were the ones looking for a fight. They all went on Jimmy Kimmel and mocked the fans. Melissa McCarthy even accused anyone critical of the movie of being 45-year-old incels living in their mom's basement, saying that they only stopped hating on the movie for having women in it when their mom sent them out to throw the garbage. Going back to Hollywood at large, Judd Apatow stated matter-of-factly that if you didn't support the movie, well then you had to be a Trump supporter, which he also equated with being a, how do I put it? Member of the German National Socialist Labour Party of the early 1940s. We'll go with that. Paul Feig seems to have forgotten all of that though, yet he remembers this. Then Trump came out against us. He was like, they're remaking Indiana Jones without Harrison Ford. You can't do that. And now they're making Ghostbusters with only women. What's going on? And got all upset. Everybody went effing cannibal. It turned the movie into a political statement, as if to say, if you're pro-women, you're going to see this. If you're not, then... I didn't think it mattered that all the main characters were women, but people brought a lot of baggage. Says the man who publicly complained in the media at the time that he couldn't relate to other men because they bullied him when he was a kid. That aside, I agree that the movie turned into a political statement, because I was there at the time, and I covered it more closely than, well, pretty much anyone else, if we're honest. Feel free to go back and watch the Ghostbusters playlist, and like most everything else Paul Feig has said here, there's a level of projection in this. Watching the movie became a political act, yes, but it wasn't Trump who made it that. No, it was the response of Paul Feig, his cast, his crew, and the Hollywood machine that made that happen. The people behind the production were the ones that first made this political, officially endorsing Hillary Clinton. Sony tried walking that back, but to no avail, as Paul Feig himself chided them for doing so and doubled down big time, saying that yes, they were all with Hillary, and so were their fans. But now, Paul Feig is rewriting history, claiming that Trump is the one who politicized the movie. Trump may have done a lot of things, but politicizing the female-centric Ghostbusters remake and making it part of the election cycle? That one is all on you, Paul Feig, and the entirety of the Hollywood machine that aided and abetted in this, and who are right now uncritically accepting his claim. Didn't work out too well though, as the movie failed, and adding insult to injury, Trump won. Let's not forget the biggest reason why the movie failed though. It was too expensive, and the audience didn't like the insult towards the original crew that the remake was. Like, fuck them, they didn't count. In another act of projection, Leslie Jones would express those exact thoughts when the female-centric remake was ignored and the Ghostbusters franchise was announced to continue with Ghostbusters Afterlife. Then she said, so insulting, like fuck us, we didn't count. It's like something Trump would do. Seemingly forgetting that what she accused of being like something Trump would do is exactly what she already had participated in doing, only towards the original. That was in 2019 though. Paul Feig's comments are brand new, demonstrating that Ghostbusters 2016 continues to be the movie version of TDS. Especially every 4 years during each new election cycle, when Paul Feig evidently feels it's time to remind the world that he exists and that it wasn't his fault that his biggest movie flopped. Because he did a variation of just this in 2020 as well. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments.